Welcome to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Mayor Diane Jones, your host, and I have some important guests with me today to help our television viewers find out about something new, or sort of new, not real new, but in education called Expect More Arizona. And today we have with us Pearl Chang Esau and Jennifer Hernandez, who both work. Pearl is the president and CEO of the organization Expect More Arizona, and Jennifer is the Northern Arizona Community Mobilizer. And I've gone to all kinds of meetings where Jennifer is there. So first of all, let's find out a little bit about both of you, starting with Pearl. Tell us a little bit about your background and how that brought you to this point.
Thank you so much for having us, Mayor Jones. We're so happy to be here today. I'm from California originally, and I'm very fortunate to be from an education-first kind of a family. My parents immigrated from Taiwan and, came from little means and kind of had to climb their way up into the world, and they always told me, you can be from anywhere and have absolutely nothing, but if you get a great education, you can do whatever you want to do. So I've always had that as my mantra, and so my brother and I were fortunate to get a great public education, and I went to UCLA, graduated from school there, and then, while I was in college, I spent a lot of time working with low-income schools just to see, what can we do? What's going on? Why are kids from low-income backgrounds struggling with their education? And then I decided I needed to go in firsthand and find out. So I became a fifth-grade teacher in East Los Angeles.
Oh, boy.
Which is one of the most challenging areas in California. And I learned a lot about the importance of high expectations and how if you really hold a high bar for kids, even if they're very, far behind, they will rise to your expectations. So I've become a huge champion for high expectations for all children, born out of my personal experience. I later moved to Arizona to become the executive director of Teach for America, where we trained hundreds of teachers every year to teach in low-income communities. And then 2 years ago, I had the wonderful opportunity of helping to launch Expect More Arizona as a growing movement for world-class education for all of our kids here.
And you're working grassroots. I mean, you're just kind of, as they say, down in the trenches in a way, trying to bring this not only to elected officials, but to everyday community members, families, children.
Absolutely. We work all across the board. Expect More Arizona started out as kind of a seed of an idea in 2008. That, we had business leaders, education leaders, community leaders coming together and saying, we've really got to shift the culture in Arizona where education becomes a top priority, where it's something that we really value, that we have a high expectations kind of a culture. But we need to work together. We can't continue to work in silos where early education people only talk to early education, and K-12 only talks to K-12, and higher ed only talks to higher ed. And business and education aren't talking. So we have to pull together and work together. And so a lot of those groups came together and they founded Expect More Arizona to become this movement for a world-class education for every child. And a few years down the line, a couple years ago, they decided that, if we're really going to get this thing off the ground, we've got to staff it and turn it into a real 501c3, a nonprofit. And so that's when I had the opportunity to come over, and we have since turned it into a statewide, nonpartisan education advocacy organization. We work with building public awareness, influencing public opinion. We have all kinds of initiatives to reach out to parents and voters, to educate them about issues, to engage them. And then we have an advocacy platform. We work with groups to advocate on issues at the legislature, on bills, on budget issues, and we're working at that kind of statewide policy level as well, all towards making sure that every child at the end of the day has the chance to get more education after high school, because high school isn't the finish line anymore. In today's economy, every child needs to continue their education to get a good job.
Absolutely. And Jennifer, tell us a little bit about your background and how that brought you to this point.
Well, I was born here in Arizona, raised in Arizona, attended Arizona schools, including Arizona State University. Spent a little bit of time out of the state when my husband was stationed in California, but we came back, raised our children here. Actually just had one daughter graduate from high school on Friday, and I currently reside in the Flagstaff area, but I'm the Northern Arizona Community Mobilizer for Expect More Arizona, so I have the fantastic opportunity to travel in what I feel is the most beautiful parts of the state throughout Yavapai County, Coconino County, Apache and Navajo counties as well, and really working on the grassroots outreach and mobilization. Have, again, fantastic opportunity to work with parents, doing parent engagement, and just really raising awareness around the critical education issues that impact us as parents, that impact us as voters, that impact all Arizonans and their quality of life. So it's really exciting to be able to work on these issues. Prior to working with Expect More Arizona, I worked on an early literacy initiative, and that's something that I still feel extremely passionate about, and it's definitely one of the issues that we talk about at Expect More Arizona, ensuring that children are reading at grade level and that we're preparing children adequately for kindergarten so that they start off with the opportunity to be successful, and so that will continue. And then that translates really from cradle to career, because I think it's important to keep talking about it at every age and stage. And I've seen that now as a parent who's seen my children transition, exactly what Pearl talked about, and making sure that there's continuation and good, strong transitions as they transition from the home or from an early childhood setting into kindergarten through 12th grade and then on to college and career. So.
Yeah, speaking with Superintendent Barb Urin, you know, I was surprised to find out that there's a large percentage of children entering kindergarten who aren't really prepared, that didn't get an opportunity to go to preschool, and so that's something that the schools K through 12 have to deal with. Even starting off before kindergarten now, it's just so different than when I was young. In fact, in Sierra Vista, when I went to school, they didn't even have kindergarten, so tells you I'm pretty old. So. But anyway, it's just, you know, so some folks might say, well, why should I support education? I have my children all raised, and, you know, and my taxes are already too high. But, you know, I think about the fact that we're going to have 6 baby boomers on Social Security and 2 workers to support them, whereas when I was working full-time, it was the opposite. You know, we had 6 workers supporting 2 Social Security checks. So I think that's an argument right there, is that, you know, if you want the Social Security program to be sound and solid, these kids, you know, need an education. We need to support education, because the old adage, what's in it for me? Well, there's a lot in it for every person to support our children's education.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reality is that education impacts everybody's quality of life.
Development, I mean, jobs.
It impacts our economic development. There's a direct correlation between high school dropouts and the amount of money that we lose in their earnings that they could have been earning that they would then spend. You know, there's home property values that are impacted by a school district's performance. There's healthcare costs that we incur when students drop out of high school. You know, research clearly shows that high school dropouts are much more likely to be dependent on state systems. So there's all kinds of very direct ways in which taxpayers do end up incurring the costs of uneducated people in Arizona. And so to us, it's like, well, do you want to pay now or do you want to pay later? You know, shouldn't we invest up on the front end so that children graduate from high school, they have great opportunities in life, and they don't end up in our jail system, you know, where we then end up paying for jail. I mean, in this state, we spend more on jail than we do on education.
I know, isn't that sad?
It's the exact opposite, right, of where I think we'd want to be.
Right, right.
I think also in terms of thinking about the types of industry that we want to attract to our state, we know that 85% of all high-growth, high-wage jobs are going to require some type of post-secondary education or training. And so I think we have a responsibility as citizens who want to create a strong Arizona to ensure that we're graduating students prepared for that type of work, prepared to go on to receive post-secondary training, a diploma or professional credential, so that they're prepared to meet the challenges of jobs that we can't even fathom yet, jobs that don't even exist. I always think about, I couldn't have imagined something like a pocket computer, like an iPhone, when I graduated from high school. So I can only imagine 20 years from now, when my daughter is my age, the types of opportunities that will be available to her. And I want her to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, which is why a strong education system is so important, and that all children have the opportunity to access that regardless of where they live in the state of Arizona.
So it's time already for a break, so we'll be back in just a moment to talk more about Expect More Arizona.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Mayor Diane Jones, interviewing Pearl Chang Esau and Jennifer Hernandez about Expect More Arizona. So we were talking about a world-class education. What does that mean, a world-class education? Help us understand what your organization thinks that is.
Well, I think we spoke about it earlier when we talked about world-class education, meaning that we're preparing all of our students to be college and career ready. And that definitely starts with access to high-quality learning, early learning experiences, so that children are prepared when they enter kindergarten. That means that children are reading proficiently by the end of 3rd grade. That means that kids are graduating on time. And that they are, again, college and career ready, so that they can achieve post-secondary training so that they can be competitive with their peers on a worldwide level. And we know that this takes world-class achievement. It ensures that we're closing the gap and respecting the diversity of our state and all of the resources that we have around our state, that we're investing wisely, that we hold students and we hold our curriculum and our standards, are ensuring that we're creating students who have really strong critical thinking skills and creative skills, and they're able to innovate, and that we're all working together as a community. You know, schools cannot do this alone, and we all have a role to play when it comes to ensuring that all of our students have access to a world-class education.
Absolutely, and you know, I think it's the same with the Kids at Hope and some of the other organizations that have been, I've been speaking with, and I know that for Expect More Arizona, I've already told our City Council about it, and we're going to be July 1st meeting with our City Council, asking them to support being a city, because a city that expects more of education. Because, like you said, education can't do it alone. It's even like the SciTech Festival that we're involved with. Our city's heavily involved with that. You can't expect education to do everything. you know, cities, it has to be the whole community.
Absolutely.
It has to be, you know, your city council people need to support education, all of your organizations in the community, you know, Rotary does scholarships. I mean, there's so many organizations.
Faith-based groups, community service groups
are
have a huge role to play.
Absolutely. So it's the whole community, which I know that you are doing a lot of grassroots kind of work out in the community. And I do want to mention that Dr. Paul Ty, the superintendent of Mingus Union High School, is the one that introduced me to Expect More Arizona. So he's been wonderful in the community. He's out there, and you know, I really appreciate him and the relationship he has with the community, which really helps, I think, Mingus Union High School. And also Barbie Wren has a great relationship with her community and is always out there with her community, supporting, you know, things that cities and towns need to do. We have a great, you know, collaborative relationship.
Right.
So that's really, I mean, you're really out there talking to everyone, not just schools, not just education. You're working, like you said, with legislators. You're working with all kinds of groups, all kinds of organizations. And just whoever wants to learn about this could contact you. You do have some information there.
Yeah, we do.
Do you want to hold that up? And
sure. Well, we
about that?
actually have a couple of different initiatives that we'd love to maybe share a little bit about that reach out directly to whether it's parents or voters, because like you said, everyone really does have a role to play. Educators can't do it alone. Especially we have a lot of students from low-income backgrounds in our state too. And you mentioned earlier, a lot of kids show up to school behind. So teachers, a lot of them are superheroes, and they work very hard to catch the kids up. They work very hard, but they need that family support. They need that, and that's why we reach out to parents and we talk to parents about how do you build a high expectations culture in your home. We have a whole campaign that's dedicated towards getting parents to get more engaged. And taking actions every day, in fact. Something simple they can do every day to get their child more involved, and that's called the Today campaign. And so you can go to todayinaz.org and see something fun that you as a parent can do each and every day to help your child to be more successful. I'll turn it over to Jen to talk about our voter initiative too. That's very exciting that we just launched as well.
Yeah, just on Friday, we launched our Vote for Education campaign, and you're going to be seeing a lot of us this summer, hopefully at some of the community events that you have, and then we're definitely always looking for opportunities to come and speak to all types of groups. So if you're watching and you have an organization that you'd like us to come and provide a presentation for, we've got a fantastic presentation that we can provide for your group, for your parent group. We really want to turn out the vote and really keep people informed on those top priority issues, and definitely we need to ensure that education remains at the forefront and is a priority for voters, because as we've discussed, it definitely impacts our quality of life. It impacts our economy. It impacts everything from property values to crime rates. So it's really important that we keep that in mind and make it a priority when we go to the polls, and that we get out the vote. We get out, we vote early, we stay informed on local issues as well as statewide issues. And if you go to our website at expectmorearizona.org, you can sign up for our newsletter. We will keep you engaged and informed. We won't overwhelm you with too much information, we promise, but we will keep you engaged. We'll highlight some of the issues that you should keep in mind. And we even have some toolkits that we're developing for the community, for business communities, for community organizations that you can use, turn around and use with the folks that you work with. So we've got a lot of great resources. And again, if you go to our website, it's expectmorearizona.org. You can check out all the great resources that we have there. Also, I'd encourage you to go to the website and watch our Today campaign video. I think it's pretty inspiring.
Great. Okay, so Expect More Arizona. It's on the screen right now. Expectmorearizona.org. That's pretty simple. All right, it's already time for another break, so we'll take a break and we will be right back.
Great.
One of the areas still maturing in an adolescent brain is the prefrontal cortex. So when we take drugs, we alter key motivational circuits, changing the wiring needed for the cognitive function of the brain, until we can't totally deal with things like memory, thinking things out, and even learning stuff.
The signs are there. So is our help. Visit the partnership at drugfree.org for practical advice on coping with teen drug use.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm here with Pearl Chang Esau and Jennifer Hernandez of Expect More Arizona. So what is this thing called Arizona's College and Career Ready Standards, and why does Expect More Arizona support them?
That's a great question. So academic standards, for folks who don't know, are simply guidelines for what students are supposed to know and be able to do by the end of each grade level. And so they're important because they're guidelines for educators to know, okay, if I'm a third grade teacher, I need to, my kids need to be able to multiply and divide. And, it sets guideposts for that then teachers can choose their own curriculum and develop their own lesson plans to wrap around. So 4 years ago now, the Arizona State Board of Education adopted a new set of standards for Arizona, K-12 standards in English and math. And those are called Arizona's College and Career Ready Standards. This was a really important move in the right direction for Arizona because our previous standards, which were called the AIMS standards, were just too low. And there's a couple of pieces of evidence, that helped us to see that they were just too low. One is that, we were graduating high schoolers in Arizona, and over half of them had to remediate at the community college level.
Yes, I've heard that.
So when the majority of your high school graduates aren't prepared for the next step, you know that the level of expectation has been too low. And we have great educators. We have teachers and principals who are working so hard. But standards, especially because we have standardized tests, right? Standards set a minimum bar for what their kids are supposed to be able to do. And so they do, in a lot of ways, set a threshold for the level of expectation that, whether it's families or educators, that we're holding our kids to. The other issue was that nationally, our kids take a national test too, and that kind of gives us an indication of how our kids do compared to other kids. And that's important because, your kids might not live here when they need to go get jobs, or they're competing globally now. It's really, it's a global economy.
It is global.
And so according to the national test, our kids, 75% of our kids approximately were not proficient in reading or math. But according to our state test, 75% of them were proficient. So we've been telling families that their kids were proficient in reading and math, when in fact, if they were to go compete in Massachusetts or any other state, they weren't going to be. So this was a big issue, and we have now moved forward in adopting a higher set of standards that will better prepare kids for the next step, to be college and career ready, and that was a very important thing for us to do. We developed them in a consortium, so at the same time, a lot of governors and superintendents from all across the state recognized that we needed to step up education if we're going to really prepare kids for their future. And so they developed what's called the Common Core standards, but it was a state-led effort in that each governor and superintendent opted in to that effort. And then we've kind of, worked on that effort, but we call them Arizona's College and Career Ready Standards here.
Okay, all right. And what about the Arizona Aims Higher campaign?
Yeah, so the Arizona Aims Higher campaign is one of Expect More Arizona's initiatives. It's an advocacy priority of ours to have higher standards for Arizona's kids. Nobody wants to go backwards. Nobody wants to go back to the AIMS standards that just held too low of a bar. And so we're out there educating particularly parents about the need for higher standards and the need for a higher quality assessment. Nobody really likes tests, but I think we all agree that tests have a role, and when used properly, they can provide very meaningful and timely feedback for teachers and parents about how to help their kids to succeed. The problem with our old test, the AIMS test, was that they didn't get the results until the year after the kids were out of the grade.
Oh boy!
And also, it was a 10th grade graduation test, and so that's why we had such a high remediation rate. Again, the AIMS bar way too low. So we're moving forward, upward and onward. We've already adopted new standards. Districts have been implementing them for years, and your local districts and district leaders that you just mentioned are doing an excellent job of implementing them. So excellent that they came and presented to the Governor's Education Council a month ago as an example, an exemplar of success.
That's awesome.
So, you know, huge congratulations to both of those superintendents.
Yes, that they are excellent. So you were telling me that you were appointed to the Governor's Board on Education, or what is the organization that she appointed you to?
Oh, sure. The governor has a Arizona Ready Education Council, and it's her P20 Advisory Council on Education Issues. Okay. So I serve on that council.
All right, excellent. So let's talk a little bit about some of these programs. We haven't covered everything that you brought here. So share with us a little bit more about specific programs that you are working on. We talked about Ames Higher. I see that brochure.
Great. So I'll just kind of show some of the things, and these are informational pieces that we have around this campaign, Arizona Ames Higher. Again, it's a campaign to support higher quality standards and a higher quality test. This is information about the new test. We haven't selected one yet as a state, so we're trying to help parents understand the process that we're in right now. The State Board of Education is working to select a new assessment, hopefully by the fall, that will be implemented in schools at the end of next year. We have all kinds of tools and resources to help parents out. Because as a parent, it's hard to always know what's going on. I mean, there's so many things going on, and you've got a day job, and
I know the only notices that my little boy ever brought to me were the head lice ones. He didn't ever bring anything.
Well, that's probably important too.
Else home besides that.
But just to make our lives easier for parents, you know, we've got grade sheets for every grade to tell you here's the new standards, the higher standards that we're holding kids accountable to in school these days. For example, in kindergarten now, your kid needs to know needs to be able to work between 0 and 100 in math. So, you know, that's more on par with other states and other high-performing countries, and so we think that's a good thing. But parents need to know that, and so
they can help them at home.
Yeah,
they can help them at home be prepared.
It's really equipping parents with what they need to know so that they can reinforce
so that their children
the learning
can be successful.
Absolutely.
They can help them with the 0 to 100, and parents can do a lot.
Oh, parents have make a tremendous impact. Absolutely.
Yes.
And all this can be found on our website. Everything we're talking about today is on our website. And then Jennifer Hernandez is the Northern Arizona Community Outreach staff member. So another great way to get more information is simply to email her. And she comes and does presentations and does a fabulous job with bringing this information right to your doorstep.
And her email would be on expectmorearizona.org.
Yeah, I'm happy to give it to you now, and then you can also reach me through our website. There's a contact form there. And I believe all of us as staff are listed there as well, so you can reach us directly. But it's Jennifer at expectmorearizona.org. And I've really been embraced and welcomed by the Cottonwood community. It's definitely an incredibly vibrant community. That there's several examples of how the business community has been involved and has been supportive of the schools here. I know that several businesses support Teacher Appreciation Week, for example. One of our strongest partners in the area is the Gear Up program, which is a really innovative college readiness program, and that cohort is actually just about to enter high school. So there's a cohort of freshmen, and I know that the Gear Up coordinator there, Gretchen, is looking for opportunities for the business community to provide job shadowing opportunities or internship opportunities, and you can definitely reach out to me and I can get you connected with the Gear Up program. That's a wonderful program that we definitely like to talk about. We've done some parent engagement work with the Gear Up program and have provided the grade sheets that Pearl showed you earlier for those parents, because we do have them for every single grade level. And I should mention also that those grade sheets are available in English on one side and Spanish on the other. And we also have a college and career planning guide. We have a really great interactive website. So if students are really interested in doing some career exploration, students can go to our website, and I would really encourage parents and students to go on the website together. They can look at some of the things that they're interested in and find jobs and careers that align with that. So we have some really great resources and just some planning tools too. I always say it's never too early to start talking about post-secondary education with your children. And so, you know, use those opportunities as parents now, and to really set that expectation that we're going to make school a priority. We are going to start talking about college and post-secondary education as early as possible, and then just really talking about the ways that you can set goals as a family and goals with your children. And we do provide parent engagement workshops. I've even been invited here to a local church to do some parenting engagement and parent workshops here. So we will go where we're invited, and we're excited about opportunities to come and speak and work with parents.
Well, that's fantastic. You won't believe it, but our time is already up. I already warned you it goes fast. I just really want to say thank you for helping our public and our community know more about education. I applaud you for what you're doing, and you will make a difference.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome. And that's the way it is in Cottonwood.